My name is Tina Langdock, and I'm a yoga therapist and mindfulness meditation teacher in Milwaukee, former high school teacher. So you'll see my teaching prototype coming out a little bit. I really feel like this work is so important and helpful for the clients I have with ALS. And I think it's important to understand why. So I'm going to begin with a PowerPoint just describing what the work is, how I got into it, and how, exactly what we're connecting with and how we do that. So before we actually go into a practice, you understand why we're doing the practice and how it relates to the yoga philosophy of wellness. So I'm really excited to share all of that information with you. Okay. So I'm going to bring up my PowerPoint. There it is. Okay, can everyone see that okay? All good, thanks Angie, appreciate the thumbs up. All right, so yoga, mindfulness, and ALS, how connecting with prana, which is probably a new word for most of you, creates new doorways. So yeah, these are two of the clients that I've worked with. The gentleman and his wife on the right are in Santa Cruz, California, and Dr. Scott is part-time in Pennsylvania and part-time in Miami, Florida. As Angie said earlier, I have worked with quite a few clients here in the Midwest, and again, had some really great results in just having a new relationship with our diagnosis, whether it's ALS, Parkinson's. I also work with clients with cancer, depression, heart disease, diabetes, but found that the prana work is really specifically supportive to individuals with neurological challenges. So let's look at that. Okay. So I first began this work in 2018. This is Dr. Scott Stieber and myself. Dr. Scott is the brother-in-law of my best friend from high school. And Scott and I had known him in college, and I knew that he had ALS, and my friend Karen told me that he had been using some yoga and meditation to support himself. And but he wasn't quite sure what was happening or why. And so I flew out to Pennsylvania, spent some time with him. And immediately upon starting to work with him, I felt like I knew what he was connecting to. And I'm going to explain what the word prana means. But for Dr. Scott, me describing what he was feeling and what he was connecting to, this life force energy, really helped his practice soar. He's now in his 12th year with ALS. He and his wife just went down to Miami, where they usually go in the winter. So he's still practicing at least 2 or 3 hours every day. He's very devoted to his practice. Not all my clients practice that much, that's for sure. But for him, it's been a real important doorway, and he's very dedicated to his practice. And in 2019, my partner, who's a filmmaker, actually made a short film about our work together, and the name of the film is Pizza and Prana. And it's a 12-minute film, and it's available for free on my website, and I'll make sure that Angie and Christy have a direct link to the film. And it shows me working with Dr. Scott using yoga, mindfulness, and this prana work with his breath. And I think you'll find it both enlightening and entertaining. It's also got quite a bit of humor and humanity. So I think if you have a chance to watch that short film, I would highly recommend it. So what is prana? The film begins with this quote from William Broad. He wrote the book, The Science of Yoga. And it is prove what you can and be open to the rest. So this might be a new practice for you. I'm not sure how many of you have practiced yoga or meditation before, but if it's something new, maybe just be open to it. See what it might feel like. It might be a new way of tuning into yourself, which is really what I think prana does. It helps us connect with the present moment because the only way we can connect with prana is in the now, which is how it relates to the practice of mindfulness. And what we're doing is feeling into the life force that animates our being. So feeling awareness, breath, life force, and energy. And the only way we can know prana is by experiencing it as vibratory sensations. And some people describe prana as heat, tingliness, coolness, stretching, movement, heaviness, lightness, brightness, dullness, itchiness, sharpness. And it will change depending on where we are, how we are, what we're doing. And so we'll be doing a short practice where we'll be connecting with these vibratory sensations of prana. So the word prana is a Sanskrit word, and it comes from this model of wellness that's part of yoga therapy. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's a 5-layer kind of model. And so we're going to look at the interconnectedness of body, mind, and spirit. Really is a holistic model. And so the first kosha or layer is our physical body. And this is like the cells and tissues, the systems of the body, the organs of the body. So like your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, your heart and lungs, your skin, your cells, and all the tissues. Okay. The energy body is where prana lives. And it's the second layer. And it's breath, energy, life force, and awareness. Now, these two together create the body in yoga. When we talk about body, mind, and spirit, which are the 3 essential elements of yoga, the body is not just the physical body, it's the physical body and the energy body, which is prana. The third layer is the psycho-emotional body, and these are our thoughts and feelings as they arise and fall away in present moment experience. So the thoughts moving through the mind, the emotions moving through our body. The wisdom or cultural body are limiting and usually false beliefs that come from our family, culture, and life experience. These come with big words like always, never, everybody, nobody. Okay. And again, they're not usually true. This is why we usually go to a psychotherapist to work with our thoughts and feelings in the present. So this is kind of the realm of psychotherapy. The 5th kosha is the kosha of bliss. It's the spiritual layer. And this is kind of that feeling when we feel like we're in the oneness of the universe, for lack of a more or a less esoteric term, I guess. But when we feel that kind of connection to spirit, we feel like we're connected to something bigger than ourselves. We're in that flow of life. And this might be something that you experience doing prana work, but it also is an area that your spiritual leader or advisor might be a doorway they would come in. But prana and the physical body, are more the energy of the or the realm of the yoga or yoga therapist or meditation teacher. So remembering these aren't separate, but they're interconnected and interwoven in our being. So the theory is that when one kosha is shut down due to imbalance or dysfunction, the portals of the other koshas open wider to right the system. So with ALS, when the motor neurons shut down in our physical body, the theory is that the pranic body wakes up. And so once I started working with Dr. Scott and explaining to him that he was connecting with prana, he had a new awareness. He started to ride prana, and he felt like that doorway opened wider for him as his motor neurons shut down. It was a new doorway, a new path. And so he says in the film, ALS set me up perfectly for entering into prana. And based on our experience together, I've expanded this work into a curriculum that I've used with many different clients throughout the United States, often on Zoom, sometimes in person, but teaching people how to connect with prana as another doorway to having a different relationship with their diagnosis. So the keys to this practice are intention, openness, and willingness. Prove what you can, be open to the rest, give it a try, and see what you feel, notice, and experience. So prana is that energy matrix that supports the physical body. I sometimes think of it as, the energy underneath our physical body. It's in every cell. We can think of it as like the electrons and neurons that, support our life force. And the only way to know prana is to experience and feel it in the present moment. So again, what is prana? These are our words. One Sanskrit word, 4 words in English. That happens a lot. Awareness, breath, life force, and energy. We're going to spend just a few minutes looking deeper into those words, and then we'll get into a practice. So prana is awareness. So awareness is kind of the realm of mindfulness and meditation. Prana is part of the yoga lexicon. And so it's presence, it's being in the now, all right? So a lot of times our mind goes back to the past or forward to the future, right? But being in the now, being in the body through this prana portal brings us to the moment that we're in this moment, the now, okay? So when we're in prana, we're in the present moment. It's also the ability to rest the mind in different parts of the body. So it's feeling our body in space. So we're going to do a little bit of that. It's called proprioception. And proprioception and kinesthesia, 2 big words I'm going to be talking about today, are kind of the realm of the super senses. We have 5 senses, but, they think we have more. We have at least 9 and maybe as many as 30. And proprioception and kinesthesia are 2 of the senses that are recognized by scientists around the world. So proprioception is the ability to rest the mind in different parts of the body, moving the mind into the feet, into the hands, into the heart, and feeling those areas, tingliness, warmth, coolness, softness, buzziness, a feeling of presence or vitality. That's proprioception. It's also the ability to move awareness around the body and through the inner body. So sometimes we'll broaden awareness and feel a big part of the body. Sometimes we'll narrow awareness and feel a very specific part. It's also the ability to feel the body moving. So if we're opening and closing our hand, we can do this and not really pay attention to it. This is autopilot, right? Or we can really feel our body moving, and it's called kinesthesia. And it's something that a lot of athletes connect with and practice and get really good at. And the more we practice kinesthesia, proprioception, or connecting to prana, the easier you'll get to recognize it and the more expansive our experience of prana will be. And so the reminder is that connecting with prana is a lot less about doing and a lot more about being, sensing, and feeling. Okay, so you'll hear me say those words a lot. Prana is breath. So it's the ability to feel, visualize, and move the breath. So in yoga, pranayama are breath practices, patterns of breathing. And as a yoga therapist, I teach a lot of these breath patterns to my clients for a lot of different reasons. Some are heating, some are cooling, some are balancing. And when we practice these kinds of patterns, it expands where we breathe and how we breathe. And interestingly enough, the practices that I'm going to teach you or talk to you about today, and then we'll do a few of them in our practice, are listed in your ALS Association, like information about the breath, and they're called no-tech strategies. So no-tech strategies means you don't need any kind of assistance. You don't need any equipment. You just need to choose to practice these types of patterns of breathing. And so it's interesting that the same breath patterns that Dr. Scott was doing and that we continued to develop in more detail are also the no-tech strategies that are listed through the ALS Association and other associations I've worked with. These breath practices or patterns that we'll be incorporating take the focus to the core, away from the bulbar area, which, as you well know, is an area that's a challenge. So we move the breath down into the core, down into the belly and below, connecting with the diaphragm and even below that. And we also have an emphasis on exhalation, which for many of my ALS clients, they find the exhalations more available. And when we focus on the exhalation and increase the exhalation has actually been connected to the swallowing reflex and some well-cited National Institute of Health studies. And it also, when we exhale fully, the inhalation rises on its own. It becomes passively fuller. So again, reminding you that these practices are less about doing, more about sensing, feeling, and visualizing. So here are the breath practices I usually teach. We're just going to do a few. I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but these are also the ones that are listed as no-text strategies. Pursed lips breath, blowing out the breath with pursed lips. So we call it kaki pranayam in Sanskrit, but it's just blowing the breath forward. Another is sigh breathing on the out breath. Even breathing from the diaphragmatic core and below, with the exhalation setting the cadence. So it's breathing out more forcefully, letting the in-breath come in. Stacked breathing or step breathing, breathing out, 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 and then letting the inhalation come in passively. Out, 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 letting the inhalation come in passively. And the last one here is called Kapalabhati, a Sanskrit word, or what we call fire breathing. It's a little more advanced. It's a forceful out breath, passive in breath, and it's usually pretty rapid. Okay, so interesting that these are breath practices you find in the yoga lexicon, and they're also the breath practices listed for ALS. So prana is also the life force and energy that animates our physical body, psycho-emotional body, and spirit. So remember, these aren't separate. We aren't in prana, then in the physical body, then in the psycho-emotional. They, wind around and weave around each other. So prana itself is vitality, heat, and energization. And recent theory suggests that prana might move through our fascia, and we know that our fascia connects to all of our organs. It's connected to all the joints of the physical body. And so if in fact prana does move through the fascia, you would understand how it could be, really enmeshed and part of that physical body, how you can't really separate the two. What I love about prana is it offers ALS patients a new doorway to the physical body through these felt sensations, visualization, and awareness. And because these 5 layers support each other, it can also support us emotionally and spiritually, connecting us with a bigger energy than our physical body and helping to reduce stress. So here's Ward and his wife Paula in Santa Cruz, and this is the testimonial that Paula wrote about the prana work. My husband began working with Tina soon after his diagnosis of bulbar onset. Tina's work with Ward with him became very important, inspiring him to practice daily with the recordings they made together on Zoom. The prana work not only helped him to maintain movement, it also lifted him emotionally. So let's practice. Move back so you can see me a little bit better. All right, so I call this a Prana Scan, and I've changed a little bit so that we can get in a little bit of movement, a little bit of breath, and a little bit of more of the sensing and feeling. So now we've talked about it, but I really want you to experience this practice today too. So we're going to start with our hands. The most prana-rich or energy-rich areas of our body are our feet, our hands, and the interior of our mouth. So I want you to make this practice your own, and I'm just going to be guiding, but what you do is really up to you. And I know that sometimes we have needs that we might need to support. The importance of this practice is good self-care. So if we need to wipe our mouth or to expel, or like cough, it's not a correction. It's really important that we open to being ourselves and connecting with ourselves in the present moment just as we are. So I want to just encourage everyone to practice good self-care. Okay? So we're going to start with our hands, and we're going to turn our palms up, and you can either rest them in your lap or you can hold them up a little bit, whatever's most comfortable for you. And I want you just to tune your eyes into the hands, just taking a few moments to connect to the feelings and sensations in our hands. So we're already connecting to prana. So we might feel a sense of heaviness, a sense of vitality, even a sweatiness in the hands. And if I asked you to tune into your right hand, your eyes might go over to your right hand, but you might also notice that your right hand becomes a little brighter, a little heavier, a little more vital than the left. So we're kind of connecting with and emphasizing the prana in our right hand. So where the mind goes, prana follows. So as the mind tunes into the right hand, the prana in the right hand lights up. And if I asked you to feel the prana in your right hand thumb, you might notice that the thumb gets a little brighter, and that you could move prana to your index finger, your middle finger. It's okay to move a little bit to your ring finger and your little finger. And if I asked you to feel your whole right hand again, you might feel the whole hand light up again and become aware of all 5 fingers in the palm of your hand. And then if we broadened our view again to feel both hands together, you might notice, oh, there's the left hand, and now I can feel the prana in my left and my right hands at the same time. If I asked you to feel the back of your left hand, you can't see it, but you might be able to feel it. Maybe you have an image of the knuckles or the skin. Maybe you can feel the air around the back of the left hand without looking at it. And that would be proprioception. And now I'm going to ask you to either close your eyes or look down, whatever feels most comfortable to you. So if you don't really want to close your eyes, you can just look down between the hands so you're not looking directly at them. Or you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you today. And notice how you can still feel your hands. Tingliness, vibration, heaviness, lightness, sweatiness, coolness. And if I asked you to feel your right hand, your mind might move over to your right hand, and you might notice the prana in your right hand lighting up. Bringing awareness to the right hand thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. And then maybe feeling into all 5 fingers in the palm of the hand and feeling prana wake up in the entire right hand. We might move awareness over to include both hands at the same time, and maybe even tune into the back of the left hand like we did just a little bit earlier. And then feeling both hands together. And then I'm going to ask you to turn your palms down and place your hands on your thighs. And you might notice weight. You might be able to feel where the hands are resting and where the hands are not resting. Maybe warmth, coolness, a sense of heaviness, where the hands rest in lightness in their absence. And if we move the hands back and forth, we can feel that, right? We can feel that movement. Not doing, but being, sensing, feeling the hands moving. And then feeling the hands come to stillness. And then let's move our awareness down into our feet. And we might feel the tightness of our socks or shoes, the hardness of the earth. And remembering that we don't need to be stiff or still in our practice. We might wiggle our big toes, our little toes, and maybe feel the toes in between. We might start to move our feet, lifting our heels and then lifting our toes. And it doesn't have to be a big movement. Sometimes smaller movements are easier to sense and feel. But noticing if this sense of kinesthesia, this feeling of the body moving, is available to us today. Maybe just noticing pressure, lightness, gentle movement, just as we are. Noticing how this brings us into presence. This prana portal is the door to the now. And then gently bringing the feet into stillness once again. Maybe feeling groundedness, a connection to the earth, a stability in the feet. And then let's move our awareness up to our pelvis, resting in the chair. And maybe we can feel its weight. It might be a sense of soreness or tension, maybe some movement. We might feel a sense of fullness or emptiness. Maybe if we place a hand on our belly, we even feel gentle waves of breathing, not needing to change the breath in any way, just maybe gentle waves of breath sliding up and sliding down, rising and falling, ebbing and flowing. Notice as we tune into this area, maybe awareness changes. Maybe the breath starts to grow. Maybe we start to notice more sensations or feelings dropping deeper into the vibrations and felt sensations in this area of the body, the pelvic bowl, the low back, and the hips. And then, if it feels comfortable, placing our hand back on our thigh again, noticing how we can feel where the hands are without looking at them, and letting awareness rest on our shoulders. So just feeling awareness rest on our shoulders. And we might notice balance, imbalance, maybe some tension, maybe spaces of openness, stillness, or movement. What do we feel as we tune in and listen to this area of the body? And if it feels comfortable, we might start to roll our shoulders gently. And again, coming through this prana portal, sensing and feeling, letting go of doing and being with the movement as we roll the shoulders. And the mind might wander back to the past or forward to the future. What's it like to bring the mind back to the now through the doorway of prana and this feelings and sensations in our body? Stretching, rising, softening, moving, feeling into ourselves with kindness, curiosity, and perhaps beginner's mind. And then taking a moment, allowing the body to come back to stillness, noticing how we feel now. We might bring awareness to our arms, allowing our arms to come down to our sides, and just lifting and lowering the arms. Allowing the feeling of moving to be our doorway to the present moment. When we're present with what we're doing while we're doing it, we're more likely to practice good self-care. Letting go of thinking and coming back to sensing, feeling, and being with ourselves. And if it feels available, the next time we feel our arms lifting, I'm going to mirror. You're going to cross our right elbow over our left and give ourselves a hug. And then open our arms and let our arms come down to our sides. We might expand the arms again, this time left elbow over right. Give ourselves a hug. And then opening again and releasing. We might sync this with our breath if that feels comfortable. Breathing in, arms wide. Breathing out, right over left. Give ourselves a hug. Breathing in, arms open wide. Keep that breath low. Breathing out, arms to our sides. Opening, crossing left over right. Opening, releasing. And then listening. We might bring awareness up to the top of the body, feeling into our head. Might notice the heaviness of our skull. Tuning into the eyes, maybe noticing brightness, darkness, textures. And then bringing awareness inside the mouth, moistness, dryness, feeling in the jaw. And if it feels available, we might breathe in, drawing breath from deep in our belly, and breathe out with a sigh, mouth open. Breathing in, pulling breath from the belly, opening the mouth, and sigh out the back of the throat. 2 more times. Breath flowing in, out through the mouth with a sigh, releasing tension in the mouth. And perhaps 1 more time. And then coming back to our seated meditation and yoga position and just noticing what we notice in our body. How does our body feel? What do we notice in the mind? Maybe we've dropped more into presence, allowing thoughts to float by. Maybe we're having thoughts coming in and out. What's it like to come back through this prana portal to the now? And even noticing how we feel emotionally. Maybe we feel a little calmer, a little quieter, a little tireder. Just noticing what's already here. And then taking our hand down to our low belly again. And we're going to end with a little bit of a belly breathing so you can understand what this belly breathing is like. And so just placing our hand here, we're going to push the breath out and then let it come in passively. So we're going to be working towards an even breath. Most of our day, the pattern of our breathing isn't even. So I'm just going to encourage you to breathe out and let that set the cadence, feel your belly engage, and then let the inhale be about the same duration. Breathing out, pushing the breath out, and then breathing in, more passively filling and just feeling that feeling of breathing from this low belly. What we're practicing is called samavritti. It's an even breath. And notice what it's like to push the breath out and let the breath flow in. And find this even cadence. Play around with it a little bit, remembering that prana is flexible. It's in the moment. It's changing, dynamic. Maybe notice what it feels like to let your breath be focused low, below the navel, as low as you can go. And if it feels available, we're going to do a little bit of step breathing here. So we're going to breathe out in 2 parts. We're going to breathe out, out, push the breath out twice, and then in 1 smooth movement. Push the breath out, push the breath out, in 1 smooth movement. Push, push, allow. Push, push, flow. So find your own rhythm. Again, good self-care, whatever we need to do to take good care of ourselves, we should do that and let it be part of our practice. But if it feels interesting and available, maybe just 4 more rounds of this step breathing, maybe even getting a third piece. Push, push, push again. How does that in-breath feel? And when we finish with that last round of step or stacked breathing, then let's release our hand, come into our mindful position again. And once more, as we bring this session toward its close, just noticing how we feel. Our 3 elements of awareness are the body, mind, and the heart. So maybe just checking in. How do I feel in my body after that practice? What do I notice? What's the quality of my mind, my thoughts at the end of this practice? And how am I feeling emotionally? And then we'll end our practice by feeling into our foundation once again, our feet, our pelvis, finding a place of stability, a place we can connect to through these vibratory sensations, and then starting to bring wakefulness to the body, finding any kind of movements that's nourishing and nurturing, and bringing this prana scan and practice to its close. Okay? All right. So I'm curious if any of you have done meditation before or yoga, or is this new? And just sort of curious what anyone noticed. You could put it in the chat. Angie could check the chat for us, and or if you have some questions that you'd like to ask me, feel free to reach out after you get the email and connect with me. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, good. Christy was relaxed. Thanks, Christy. Glad you're here. Yeah. Might be new, might be a new way of being. I know it was for Scott, and now he's an avid practicer. Yeah. Okay. All right. Should we move on to intention setting? We have about 15 minutes left. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. All right. All right, here I go. I'll go here. There we are. All right. So we're going to move on. Okay, so we're actually going to be setting a healing intention. In yoga, we call this a sankalpa. It's something I include in a lot of my practices. A couple of reminders: intentions are personal. Nobody can tell you what your intention should be. It's yours. They're internally motivated and aligned with our beliefs. It has to be something we can wrap our heart around. And intention setting gives meaning to how we live our lives. So they can be an important part of bringing in qualities that we would like to have more of. And that's what we're going to be doing today. It's important to set the intention with positive, simple language we feel comfortable saying and embracing. And it's important to keep your intention flexible, not a rigid thing. Sometimes we'll open the door to more joy and find that we actually move in towards peace. Okay, so we want our intention to be flexible. We're opening a door, and then as we move through that door, we want our intention to unfold in authenticity. So let your intention ebb and flow, go easy, and allow your intention to mature as it unfolds. So we're just kind of planting the seed as we begin, right? So remember that as you're setting your intention today, this isn't what you have to have forever. It's just what you're bringing in for today, and you know that it will change. They're very dynamic. So an easy way to set an intention is with one word. That's what I usually do. one word we'd like to bring into our lives with more abundance. It could be a word like acceptance, grace, self-confidence, curiosity, self-care, self-love, joy, peace. Okay? It can also be a simple statement like, may I be kind to myself? And maybe that feels like a tall order. So it might be, may I be open to being kinder to myself and to others? So it can be an opening of a doorway. May I be kind? May I be open to being kinder? May I be accepting? May I be open to being more accepting? Okay. So sometimes these statements allow us to have a little bit of a doorway into our intention. Other intentions might be, may I take time for things that are important to me? May I take more time for the things that are important to me? May I remember that I am enough just as I am? May I learn to be patient with myself and others? And feel how different that sounds. May I be patient with myself and others? May I learn to be patient with myself and others? Okay. So just a few ideas on ways that we can set intentions with statements or with single words. So when we set an intention, it places the energy or prana. Okay, there's that energy word. In China and in India, they talked about prana and chi, and it was part of their healing practices. We're just learning about this now in the West. And I'm finding that a lot of our Western practitioners are open to this idea of energy, placing the energy of that quality or statement in our subconscious and setting it in motion. So we're getting things started, watering the seed. Each time we visit the intention, we're encouraging the quality of that intention to grow. So intention setting naturally leads to a more mindful way of living, which is really great. Mindfulness is all about presence. When we set an intention and we connect with it, we're mindfully embracing that quality. And it's already in us. If we think of that intention, if we're open to being more patient, we're already have patience in our heart. We're just connecting with it. So when you're clear about your intentions, you're more present in each moment, making decisions and taking actions in line with your desired values, hopes, and dreams. It's important to connect with the texture or energy, just like we were feeling the heat, the heaviness, the coolness, the vibration of our hands, of our heart, of our shoulders. The same thing with this intention. We want to be able to feel its texture. Oh, there's peace. Oh, there's abundance. Oh, there's acceptance. Okay. So we set an intention in the mind. We feel the intention in the heart and in the body. Okay. I had an interesting example of this with my 4-year-old granddaughter. And she was telling me that I was watching her and she said, I miss my mommy. And I said, well, what does it feel like? Where do you feel that feeling of missing your mommy? And she said, right here. And I said, does it feel like love? And she said, yeah, it does. And I asked her if it had a color. She said, it's green. And I loved that because that's part of that visualization. She could feel it in her heart. She knew it was there. It was missing and loving, so it was flexible, and it was green. And often my other granddaughter calls gratitude pink sparkles. And I ask her, where does she feel gratitude? She says, I feel them in my tummy and they're pink sparkles. Those are beautiful examples of feeling the energy of our intention. Okay? So we set the intention in the mind, we feel the intention in the heart and in the body. Okay? So here we go. Let's practice again. All right. So we're going to come into a comfortable meditation position. So it's that awake, alert posture that we were just in earlier. Okay. And it's okay to kind of lean back, feel foundation. You can feel the foundation in the back body. Maybe feel your pelvis in the chair and your feet on the earth. Okay. So get comfortable. It's important to be comfortable, awake, and alert when we meditate. Let's connect with prana through the doorway of sensation, vibration, awareness, breath, energy, and life force. So we might feel into the foundation of the body, the heaviness or groundedness of our feet, our pelvis, our body resting in the chair. Connecting to feelings of stability What's the energy of stability feel like today? It might feel heavy. It might feel like roots. It might feel stable and grounded. What do we notice as we tune into our foundation and listen with ears and whole body? What does stability feel like today? And along with stability, we also want to feel awakeness, alertness, a wakefulness in body, mind, and heart. What's it feel like to show up for ourselves with curiosity and kindness, just as we are? We might feel a lightness, a wakefulness, a presence that brings an energy of active participation into our meditation today. It might be the gentle rhythm of our breath deep in the belly, a feeling of warmth in the heart or vitality in the hands. So what we're doing is tuning in and feeling what's already here with fresh eyes and a fresh mind. What do we notice when we show up for ourselves with compassion and curiosity? And when we feel ready, opening to setting a healing intention, one that feels right for us today, an intention that is positive, simple, and flexible. It might be a single word that reflects a quality we'd like to bring more of into our lives or bring into our lives with more abundance. Words like acceptance, grace, self-confidence, curiosity, self-care, self-love, joy, peace. Our intention might be a simple statement. May I be kind to myself. May I be open to being kinder to myself and others. May I take time for the things that are important to me. May I remember that I am enough just as I am. May I learn to be patient with myself and others. So don't think too hard. Allow the word or phrase to arise on its own, placing the energy or prana of the intention into our body, mind, and heart. Remembering that we set the intention in the mind and we feel the intention in our body and heart. What is the energy of our intention? What does joy feel like? Peace feel like? Patience feel like? And where do we feel it? And we might choose to say our word or simple statements silently to ourselves 3 times. And when we have set our intention, letting go of any attachment to it and trusting that the intention will blossom and unfold in its own time and in its own way. We might notice what it feels like to be open to setting an intention. Maybe it feels new. Maybe it feels a little unusual. Perhaps bringing beginner's mind to the idea of setting intention. May I be open to setting intention with an open heart and an open mind. And when we're finished, once again, connecting to a sense of groundedness in our body, maybe finding our foundation again, our feet, our pelvis, our back body, connecting with feelings of stability, groundedness, heaviness, settledness in the body. But also feeling these feelings of awakeness, alertness, that we care about ourselves, that we're present with ourselves just as we are. Awake and alert, grounded and present. And then when we feel ready, starting to release this short meditation, if our eyes were closed, we could gently open our eyes. You don't ever have to be still or stiff when we meditate, but just maybe being a little bit more flowy and open. And then letting go of this short meditation and our intention setting.